Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. Today I'm outside, it's my birthday, and I'm going to take this day where the sun is actually out to wander around the yard and show you a little bit about what's going on because there's some stuff coming up and I think we'll all enjoy it. Alright, let's take a look. So for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Soleil and I garden in mid-Michigan in a zone 5B, and I am recovering right now from a knee surgery. So if you hear a little bit of clanking, that's my brace that's clicking around underneath me, and if there's any wobbling or something like that, I'm going to be trying to go a little bit slow, but bear with me. So this is the potager garden, and it's so fun to see. We have some little things coming up in different places. Right now we have a little viola coming up, and the little lingonberry bushes are looking really pretty. And look at those chives. The chives are just pushing through the ground in several different places. All the Virginia along the deck there has perked up quite a bit. We've had a lot of rain and even some snow recently, unfortunately. I have covered up my strawberries with this little row cover. As you can see, they're down under here. These are the Buried Treasure strawberries that are from Proven Winners, and they did a really great job blooming for me last year. I'm not sure what color that the flowers will be this year because I don't know which ones survived and which ones didn't, but we will see. I don't care if they're white, pink, or red. They'll all be beautiful. So we have some foxglove right here, and I think I am going to divide some of this out because there's several plants of foxglove in here and make it a little bit of an opportunity for me to use some of the foxglove in my way back garden. You can see I have some little tufts of carrots that I didn't harvest at the end of the year last year. So we'll see if those went to mush or if anything is still left in them for us to check out. This bed's looking pretty with the Virginia and the irises coming up. And I had some Persian blue catmint, which is very similar to like the cat's pajama, and that is coming back up right here. And then at the end of the year I planted some very small yarrow back here that is pink. That's the amethyst. It's kind of a pinky purple. Now I'm not sure, I think these are either onions. You can see the little tiny chive-like, onion-like growths here, and I'm not sure if those are alliums that I toss seeds in or if they're onions or what, but we'll find out as they grow on. Sometimes I have a tendency to just grab some seeds and throw them in and see how they do. This is a serviceberry right here bush. I'm looking forward to these getting tall. Last year the rabbits really ate them down, so they didn't get much good growth. So hopefully the roots are stronger this year, and that one along with this one here will grow on really well for me, and we'll see some flowers and berries maybe this year. That would be exciting. And here's that lettuce that actually overwintered in this row cover here. Over here I have some beautiful sedum that is growing right along the edge. These always look so pretty when we get a little bit of rain and there's some drops of water in them. I don't know if you can see the one here that has it, but it's just absolutely beautiful. Kind of sparkly. This bed is probably looking like one of the biggest messes of all the beds that I have because most everything is dormant. There's not a lot that's evergreen in here, but you can definitely see the foxgloves that are back here along with the iris. And then I do have a couple of limelight hydrangeas back in the back along with a weigela in here. And you can see the daffodils are coming up. All around the garden, they're just starting to show. We have some more that are over here. base of this coralberry bush. And the coralberry bush I have pruned back. You can see you prune them back to about 12 inches, so about the height of a ruler. The grass is really starting to green up right about now, so it's finally starting to see, we're finally starting to see some color as opposed to just black and white, which makes me really happy. I'm sure it does you too as gardeners. Here's another group of daffodils. What I should have done is grabbed some of my plant markers so that I could plant some of, or stick some of my plant markers in where I see these daffodils coming up that I haven't marked yet with my copper plant markers. Back here we have some Dame's Rocket. It looks a bit like phlox. You'll see it on the edges of woodlands a lot of the time in northern United States. Some people consider it to be invasive, but it's really not here. I have a few of those plants in here. My lungworts are just starting to show their greenery, and before they really put out much in terms of new leaves, they will put out their flowers first. So it will still be some time before that happens, but I just love the spottiness of these. Such a great shade plant, and so deer and rabbit resistant, which is super important for my garden because I get so many deer and rabbit. Here's a really big clump of Pulmonaria right here that is going to be coming up. And all of this brown stuff will be ferns. We have some daffodils in here, and we have some, if you can see this kind of red and white here. This is a bleeding heart that is just starting to stick out from between the leaves. We should have a pretty good show of daffodils this year. I planted so much this year. I had a lot of fun this fall planting so many bulbs. Here's my heucherella. Those are starting to come back. It's such a pretty color. Does anybody else like moss on their steps? I love moss. I think it's so pretty. This bed also has quite a few daffodils, as you can see. And then the Pulmonaria that is in here is also just starting to peek out of the leaves, along with this little bleeding heart. And I have no idea, I can't even remember what I planted here. Something green is coming out. Isn't that fun when you divide enough plants and put things around? You just kind of go, I don't know, something's coming up there, and I know I planted it, but what it is, I'm not really sure. I did prune this Pinky Winky Standard, so that one's all set, ready to go. And look at this, you guys. See the sawdust? My husband cut the tree down. This is where that kind of shrubby Norway maple was. So I'm really happy that he got that down. It's gonna open this area up real well and allow more space for this mulberry tree back there. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to plant something a little bit further back than this tree which was stuck into the fence. Something a little more ornamental, something non-invasive. So something to think about during this gardening season. I probably won't plant anything in there until fall. This heuchera is coming back. It's one of my favorite ones. I just love the color of it. I like all my heuchera, so don't believe me if I tell you that it's my favorite, because most of them are. This Pulmonaria right here is looking really good. I planted this at the end of the year last year. There's several of them. I had divided this, it was one pot, and this one is pretty in pink. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants out of it. And if you can look really closely at it, this one has some buds right in the middle, so those are going to come out and be flowers. Won't that be awesome? I do have a hellebore over the fence. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's right over here. And it is blooming like a dark pink, kind of maroon. And I wish it was in my front garden because then I would see it more often, but that's okay. It's so pretty. Now the hellebore that I have planted right here, it's a baby. I planted it, I think, last spring, so this is only its second spring. Usually it takes a few years for those to really adapt and grow to be able to bloom. They take a while. You can see I have some chives coming up in this part of the garden, and I planted some Siberian squill, also called Scylla. Has these cute little dainty blue flowers. It's not open yet, but they're going to be so cute, and they spread quite a bit. So if you don't like spreading plants, this one's not a good one, but if you do like them to fill in over time, then that is definitely a good plant to have. This fern right here is perking up. I wish I knew what kind this was. This is one that I brought home from a family cabin in Wisconsin a couple of years ago, and it stays really small. It's fairly evergreen, and it's just so cute. I hope eventually it spreads a little bit more and gets a little bit bigger. Now that mega caramel is not looking so caramel right now. It's looking a little bit more like a sunset. And in this same bed I have some wonderful chives pushing out. These make the prettiest purple lavender flowers, and you can eat those as well as the chives. And here you can see a bunny's nest. See that bunny fur in there? I don't think they live in there anymore, but there definitely were some. We see a lot of them. So daffodils, 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 and these oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name of them right now. The monster mahogany heucheras. Look at the color on those coming through. So pretty. The pieris back here, also called the lily of the valley bush, is looking pretty still. Still no flowers on this pieris. Again, this is a different type. It's a little bit of a mounding habit. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get blooms on this one. I guess we'll see. This is its will be its second full year. So if it doesn't bloom this year, I'm not sure it ever will. Now, if you watch my channel, you'll know this is a new bed from last year, in terms of there was a lilac here, and I cut that down to the ground, and I will likely have to continue to keep cutting any shoots that pop up, because I think there were probably some roots that were still alive, but eventually it will die out. And we have lots of heuchera in here, and the green is the foxglove, so that's going to look so pretty to have flowers back here. And then the Mount Erie Fothergilla bush. Yes, this bed is going to be much more beautiful than the scraggly old lilac bush that we had here. You can see here we have some tulips, several tulip, and those are all marked with a little copper marker, so I know where they are. But you can see how they come up like this deep, almost purple red here in my garden. I think because it's just so cold. We have daffodils coming up over here, and then in this cage I have protected some of my tulips because They definitely are getting big, and some of the rabbits are showing interest for sure in my tulips. So if I put these cages over them, they just can't get in there to them. And once they get big enough, they'll leave them alone, but in the beginning they're so fresh and lovely, they just chow down like lettuce. Some more chives in here, and I can't remember what bulb this is. I think it's another type of daffodil. It has very tiny foliage. I'm not very good at remembering the very specific types of daffodils that I order. I just know whether they're daffodils or tulips, and when I order them, that I really like them. This bed has all sorts of activity happening in it right now. Gets a lot of sun in this bed. I'm very excited to see this trellis this year get the clematis that I planted last year on it, and hopefully they'll bloom. And I have been growing, as you know, some clematis starts inside, and so as those get a little bigger, I probably will add maybe one or two to this as well. It just will make for a much fuller look. Pardon my shadow, but you can see some really pretty crocuses in this bed. Lots of daffodils coming up, and I'm seeing new growth on this climbing rose, so it's definitely not dead all the way back to the ground. I mean, we'll see over time, but right now I think it's looking pretty good. So that makes me really happy, because I was not sure if that was going to come back. Lots of tulips. I figure if I plant tons of tulips, even if the bunny eats half of them, I will still get plenty. My blue spruce sedum is looking so cute right now. It's got all sorts of different colors in it. The bunnies really did do a job on most of my spireas, so I don't think I even need to trim many of them. There might be a little touch-up on them, but they certainly went at a lot of the smaller stems and took those out. This clematis is already starting to bud up, you guys. I'm seeing leaves start to sprout out of the vine, so that's going to be really pretty, and I think I will probably add one or maybe two other vines to this one as well. And I think the foxglove will look really pretty back behind there. I really needed to plant something along the fence that had some height that would help stop some of the weeds from my neighbor coming under the fence back there. And I also have some nodding, I think they call them, no, not Egyptian onions, but they're like a nodding allium. That is back here, and that's coming up. Those are bulbs. They look a bit like daffodil spikes. We've got some nice new phlox in there. And look at all of that rabbit fertilizer. My goodness, it's everywhere. Pretty crazy. Now you can really see the tulips coming through over here. So I definitely have cages over these as well. And all the millennium garlic is coming up. So those will bloom very pretty during the summer. And I have lots of daylilies that are coming up. Those will probably get nibbled on as well by the rabbits. Yeah, you can see foxglove, tulips, a lot of life. Now in the center here we have the Globe Master alliums. So those look a little bit different as they come up in the spring. But those are gorgeous. They have, I mean, they're like the size of softballs, and they're purple. So let's take a gander out in the front yard. All right, beyond the gate, we have this beautiful hydrangea. This is one of the ones that I still have left to prune. I believe this one is a strawberry sundae. I thought this was a bobo one, but as it gets bigger, I'm believing based on the size and the type of bloom that it's actually a strawberry sundae. When I bought it, it wasn't marked, so I've just been trying to guess at what it is. Now along here, don't tell the deer or the rabbits, but there are some tulips planted in between each of the boxwoods that are coming up, and they haven't found them thus far. I did have a whole herd, probably 10 deer, come through my garden earlier today. They're just in the front yard traipsing along and trying to scare them out of here so that they don't eat everything up. But we're gonna have a pretty good show if they don't eat them all. One of my favorite things right now, you guys, are these Iris reticulata. I don't know if you can see the purple yet in this bed. They're so pretty. These are my favorites this time of year. Just look at the color on that. Isn't that gorgeous? Such a deep purple with the yellow and white centers. These are only about 4 inches high, but they pack a serious punch in terms of color, and I just love them. I'm gonna get some more of these this fall so I can plant more. They do also somewhat naturalize, but they don't spread significantly. So I will definitely be buying more so that I can spread more color throughout. And they don't seem to be bothered by the rabbit or the deer, so that is really important. This crabapple definitely made it through the winter. I planted this one last year. We got some daffodils and tulips coming up at the base there. And all throughout this bed as well, we have daffodils and tulips. And, you know, the daffodils really are pretty deer and rabbit proof, so that's pretty awesome. I'm really happy with the way this bed is coming along. I don't think that the dianthus is going to come back this year. It just doesn't look good at all. I'm not sure what happened with it, but that's okay. You win some, you lose some. Those were a clearance plant, and they really did a good job of looking nice last year and filling out that garden bed. So let's take a look at the front island over here. We have, again, lots of daffodils. You can see popping up. There are different kinds in here. And in addition to having different kinds of daffodils in here, we also have different kinds of alliums. In fact, that reminds me, let's go peek over these boxwood and see if we see any of the giant Globemaster alliums coming through yet. Oh yes, they are, look. So I planted 6 of these, and it looks like they're getting additional stems on them. So that is going to be a really nice show. They come up probably 2.5 to 3 feet tall, and again have a flower the size of a softball. They're just amazing. The color's gorgeous. And then these are some little drumstick alliums that we have here along with the daffodils. Now this in the middle is a oak leaf hydrangea, and you can see the white tips that have the leaves that are beginning to grow on already this year. I'm hoping to see some blooms on that this year. I didn't get any last year, but it was really its first year in the garden last year, so we'll see. Now along here I have some beautiful alliums that are planted in like a half circle around this weeping cherry, and they are the Purple Sensation alliums, and they really look beautiful. So those are all coming up, and they self-seed a lot, so you continue to get a pretty good show. And it does take a few years for them to put on a really nice flower, but once they do, they are gorgeous. And you can see my weeping cherry is getting ready to bud out. Now I thought, since it was so moist right now, If you can see behind this first boxwood, I took a couple of cuttings and just stuck them in the soil. And we'll see if they do anything. I'm going to try to root some more of those when it gets a little warmer and I do some additional trimming. But we'll see how those do. Sometimes nature will take care of itself and do all the hard work for you. So I also have a wabi-sabi viburnum that is budding up, and I'm really excited about that. It's a very different plant. It's a low growing but wide shrub. I'm probably going to have to move it. I may move it a little bit more like in this area so that it can spread and really take up a little bit more horizontal space, because it does get wider than it gets high. But I'll probably let it grow on for now in its spot and then move it in the fall. Yeah, more of that purple sensation allium there. Very, very vigorous and good and easygoing plant. So let's take a look. You guys know I'm pretty obsessed with my Hellebores. And they are really gorgeous right now. They are one of the first flowers in my garden, and some of them are starting to turn a little bit pink as they go, but just look at that. Isn't that pretty pink with the little yellow stamens in there? And then this is an orientalis version, so this one is just getting ready to bloom. And then here's another one. I'm not sure what kind this one is here, but look at the pretty velvet maroon color of the stems and the sepals that are covering the flower. So pretty. And then here's another one that is just so full. This is the biggest one that I have. Again, these take years to kind of grow on, and I've begun separating this one. Everything that you see in here is from, I think, 3 plants. I had one orientalis, I had this one, and then the one with the red buds. And so I've divided off and gotten that one back there, and have also gotten this one here. So those are the prettiest parts of the show today, you guys. Those are my favorite things that are coming up and blooming, and you can see all of the old hellebore foliage that I have trimmed off because they will sprout all new leaves after they bloom, and just making way for those blooms and the new leaves to come. I have lots of babies, so I will definitely come through here and put some more of these in different spots in the garden. Again, they'll take some time to really grow on and begin to flower, but it's just great to have them seeding in your own yard because they can be so expensive. Well, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this little hobble about the garden today. I know I sure did. It's so nice to see the sunshine and to see things growing finally. I hope things are beginning to perk up a little bit in your neck of the woods, and we'll hope to see you next time. Bye!